Okay, once again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, ma'am. Good
Okay,
evening.
good
Good morning.
evening and good afternoon for
Sir
Mr.
Ken.
Clay in UK, in London. Yeah. Okay, this is our 13th meeting of our cross-cultural understanding class, and our topic for today is the work values in United Kingdom in UK. Okay, and our guest speaker for today is Mr. Ken Clay from London, UK. Okay, Mr. Ken Clay, do you have any slide to be presented?
No. So I don't. Sorry. It's the first time I've been on one of these chats.
Okay.
So I'm kind of coming in slightly cold, and obviously I'm coming in from my own perspective in terms of how I work within my own field. I have experience within other fields in terms of work and the work ethic here. So I'm kind of hoping some people will lead the way by asking questions and giving me their perspective on their own work ethic, their own work field, so that we can possibly make a comparison. So that's the way I'm going to deal with this. My apologies for not being, simply because I've not been on this kind of chat before. So I'm going to, as we say in English, I'm going to wing it. I'm going to wing it.
Okay, it's okay, no problem. So let me start with the comparison between the work values. What I know about the work values in United States and also in some European countries, and I will compare it to the work values in our country, in Indonesia. Is it okay with that? Are you okay with that, Mr. Clint?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Let me start explain. Okay, Mr. K, this is what I know because I have read from some books, some references, and then from the explanation from our previous guest speaker, Mr. Laurel Archer, and also our last year guest speaker about work values in Spain. Yeah, okay. So I make a summary about the work value in the United States and in Europe, and then I compare with the work values in Indonesia. Okay, some of the explanation here I took from the book from Dina and Adelman, under the title Beyond Language. Okay, and let's start with work values first. Motivation to work for Americans and Europeans. Working is to earn a living for men and women, while in Indonesia, work is obligation for men and optional for women. Working moms are allowed to help husbands earn a living as long as they don't neglect their duty as wife and as a mother. Okay, and for another motivation to get to work there in Americans and Europeans, as I know, is to get prestige. Usually, a lawyer has more prestige than other occupations. While in Indonesia, whatever the occupation, the more money they earn, the more prestige they get. Okay. I don't know. Well, maybe you can give us some clarification or any additional information, okay, about motivation to work.
Well, I mean, certainly money is a great incentive to work hard. But obviously, there are certain professions which have a lot of prestige and aren't well paid. So the medical profession, we have a free at delivery medical service here in the UK. So, doctors, nurses, those who work within the medical profession have great prestige because, they're helping people, they're saving lives, they're helping ill people. So they have as much prestige as, say, a lawyer or somebody working in finance. In fact, I would say for many people, certain professions which earn a lot of money have less prestige. You know, a lot of people will trust the doctor, will trust nurses, will trust medical staff, but do not trust the banking profession, do not trust the, let's say, the financial sectors. So ordinary people would have less trust of these groups than they would of, you know, the medical profession. But certainly, yes, having a good job, earning money is a way of improving your life. I think from what I understand from speaking to Americans that, well, one of the cultural differences is within the UK, it's not normally acceptable to just ask somebody how much they earn. Whereas I understand with America, it's quite common to do that. So as a cultural difference, I believe we have that. Men and women work in the UK. We have social help. We have a social care system. So if you can't work, if you don't have a job, the government will pay for you to survive. It's not a huge amount of money, which again, I don't think is so common or is not as beneficial in the US. It's not as financially beneficial. Other countries in Europe have a slightly better or slightly worse system. So I'd say across the board, a lot of Europe works on a similar kind of way, being very generic. America, I kind of gather, is very much a country which, if you're not earning money, you're very much left to your own devices to survive. Europe, I think, has much more of a social care system in place than the US. There aren't any Americans here to help me out, to give me their perspective on that. So maybe if there is a comment section after this, Americans can give their perspective on that. That's the only thing I would add to what's being said there. We do have, again, in terms of help, mothers and fathers are paid after a child is born. So they're given time after the child is born to look after their children, to be with their child in the formative weeks and months after birth. And mothers, again, can elect to go back to work. There are childcare facilities. I'd say they're not as good as they could be, but there are definitely childcare facilities available. Obviously, you can go private and pay a lot of money to have your child looked after, but it gets to the point where financially what you're paying to have the child looked after and what you're earning means that it's better to stay at home.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. And next we go to the work ethic. For Americans and Europeans, work hard in order to become successful. But in Indonesia, success depends on the relation and social circle. And also the outcome is materialism for words and also for possessions. But in Indonesia, position, it's for position. The higher your position is, the more you can earn money. Okay. What do you think, Mr. Clay, about this work ethic?
Well, certainly there is within the professional sector, within my own profession, which is television broadcast, corporate film and video production. There is a real work ethic. We don't have a 9-to-5 culture. We don't have a culture which revolves around a Monday to Friday. Our jobs, you start the job and you finish the job when you finish the job. So, we know that we need to continue to work to get the job done. So we have a very different work ethic, because when you're on location, you have limited time and you just have to get the job done. If you don't finish at time, you just keep going till you finish. So there's a great work ethic in that respect. I think that also happens to some extent within the office culture. So people will, and you see this, certainly I see this in the UK, is that people who work in offices will have lunch at their desk. They will bring breakfast in because of the time, because of the start and the finish time. So they're trying to They are mindful of the amount of work they need to achieve in a day. So they will take as few breaks as possible. So they will literally have 10 minutes to eat their lunch at their table, at their keyboard. So I think it kind of gives a sense that there is a lot of pressure at work to deliver to your employer the amount of work that they expect from you. Work in itself, work hard in order to become successful. Well, obviously, yes, there is peer pressure at work to get your work done. And if you do that and you're successful, the chances are you will go up the scale, you will rise up the ladder at work and become more successful. You will become the head of a group, the head of a department through hard work. The outcome is materialism, wealth and possessions. Yeah, I would say that's being very generic, yes. Although again, at the moment, after the pandemic, people have realized that there is more to life than work. We have this expression, work-life balance, where your working life and your personal life, your family life, the life outside of work is just as important, because there's an expression, if you're not a happy camper, if you're not happy at work, if work takes too much of your daily life up, your family suffers, you suffer as a person. So there is a lot more attention now within companies to try and give its employees a better work-life balance. And sometimes, and as a result of COVID and home working, some companies are bringing in sort of 4-day weeks so that employees will get a 3-day weekend, which they can then spend with their loved ones, with their family, with their relatives, with other people. So they have a very tough, a very intense work period, but have a greater period of time with their family and friends. In some countries, and I think France is the example I will give, it is illegal for an employer to ring an employee outside of work. It's illegal. That's not the case in the UK. So an employer can still take time out of an employee's life if an emergency of a situation happens. My brother works in IT for the health industry, well, for the health service. And at times he gets phone calls because something's gone wrong. A major system has gone down and it needs to be repaired. But he is allowed to work from home. He has a work schedule which allows him greater time at home, greater time with his family. So, but yes, in terms of materialism, there is a great deal of materialism. The more you earn, the more you can buy, the more you can spend, the more you have in the bank.
Okay, all right, very interesting. Okay, before I continue to the jobs, I'd like to tell the students, if you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask any questions. Yeah, okay, you don't have to wait until the end. Okay. And for the dream jobs, okay, for American and Europeans, lawyers, company directors, or managers, and maybe CEO, yeah, chief executive officers are the dream jobs of Americans and Europeans. While in Indonesia, doctor, nurse, and the other medical professions, teacher and civil servant or government worker. We call it civil servant here, but actually it is government worker, are the most favorite occupation here in Indonesia. Okay, the many young people are dreaming to be the government worker some years ago, but I think now it has changed, but still but still, yeah, still many people there. Maybe we will hear are sorry, many people want to be doctor or via the medical occupation, and also teacher, and also the government worker. Okay, how about this, Mr. Clay?
Well, I have my dream job. Last week I was in Italy. Next week I'm in Spain. Then I'm in Poland. I have my dream job. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people prefer to work outside. Some people like to work in an office. Lawyer, company director, or manager. No, I would call that the worst job in the world. I would hate any of those jobs. Absolutely hate any of those jobs. They're not creative in the way that I'm creative. So, what is a dream job? What is a dream job? I mean, civil service, teacher, doctor, teacher, brilliant jobs. Civil service, we all need them. We call it civil service in the UK as well. I can see civil service because you have a guaranteed pension. Potentially, you have pretty much a guaranteed job for life.
Exactly.
So I would dispute dream jobs because it doesn't fit within my concept of what is a dream job. I would definitely put it very, very far down the scale of a job I would ever want to do. Sorry, not a dream job, an absolute nightmare of a job, a horrible job. So no, I'm not in agreement with that at all.
Okay, how about the young people of UK nowadays? What are their dream jobs?
Well,
Young people.
I think things in terms of IT. I think things in terms of certainly the creative element. I think it's probably more these days to do with modern technology, so computers, programming, things like that. Probably more. But I think because they can relate to these jobs, they can relate to the technology. You know, most young kids are on smartphones. They understand the technology. It's something for them which is easy to grasp. For myself, some of this technology is just above me. But obviously, yes, people want to be lawyers. People want to be doctors. People want to be entrepreneurs, company directors. I think it's difficult to pigeonhole the whole of society in terms of everybody wants to be a lawyer, a company director, or managers. We're not all capable of those tasks. We're not all inclined to do those jobs, those tasks. Like I said, for me, because I come from the creative field, I would much be more inclined to go into other creative professions. I think there are creative people, there are technical people, and there are people who are organizational, so they can organize. People who are great mechanics, who are engineers, who are working with metal, but engineers in terms of creating new technologies. So I'm going to use it in that respect. And those who are creative. And I don't think you can pigeonhole. I think it's difficult to pigeonhole society in that way, people in that way.
So what you do right now as a cameraman, is it your dream job? Was it your dream job when you were young? Or when you were a child, or when you were a kid?
I was very into painting, drawing.
Oh, painting.
So then I got into photography, which led me into television. So being visually creative. So absolutely, and no 2 days are the same. No 2 days are the same. You know, every day I'm working. It's different people, different location. So I go into offices, and when I walk away, I think I could never work in an office. No way, because no disrespect, the same people every day, the same location every day, the same commute every day, the same 9 to 5. I'm sorry, no, no. So my dream job is my dream
Yeah.
job because it gives me everything I don't want. It gives me a very difficult schedule. Yes, I mean my schedule, my weekly work schedule can be hectic, or I can be sat at home doing my own thing. But when I'm working, every day is a different day. So yeah, it's my dream job because it just works absolutely visually for me.
And you travel a lot.
I do. I can. There are times when I'm traveling in the UK, traveling locally, and there are times like at the moment where after COVID, yes, I've just been to Italy. I'm in Spain next week. A quick trip to Poland, but after that, it may be around London. It might be somewhere else in the UK. I don't know.
Okay, all right. So you are a cameraman for a TV station, is it?
Yes, I've done it. I've done. You're from Malaysia,
No, I'm Indonesia.
Indonesia, right?
Indonesia,
Okay.
yeah.
I
Our
don't- I
neighbor,
might-
Malaysia is the neighbor. Our neighbor.
Yeah. I think I might have worked. I mean, I've worked for the French, the Germans, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Americans, the Canadians, the Norwegians. I've worked for Spanish, the Portuguese. I've worked for quite a few countries in Africa, a lot of Latin American countries. So I've worked for many different broadcasters around the world.
All right.
So yeah, so I've not only worked abroad, but I've worked for foreign broadcasters here in the UK. So it's a brilliant way of really getting to know people and getting to understand a little bit as to their cultures. So yeah, I mean, hey, absolutely no complaints whatsoever about my job and about the people I've worked with and will continue to work with. It's just, yeah, serious dream profession. Yeah, I'm saying normal. I'm saying no more.
Yeah, because what I had in mind before you explain about your job, okay, what I had in mind about cameraman of TV station, they stay in a TV station. I mean, for news broadcast and also the other talk show broadcast and so on, something like that. Okay, but you
Yeah, I think you're probably slightly thinking a more studio-based cameraman. Whereas I'm out and about, like a lot of cameramen. I'm out and about, or camera women, because there are camera women out there who work in news, who work in current affairs, food, cookery program, who work in cinema. Cinema, again, cinema is, I don't work in cinema, but it's again, it's a bit of a different profession. Again, real commitment to that industry, long hours, big crews generally. I work within small crews, 2-3 people, producer, director, myself, maybe a sound recordist. So it's not the way the groups work within television, within broadcast, within cinema. There are different types of crews, different types of productions. It's a little different. It's not fixed. It's not one type. There are lots of different types. But I tend to work in the news, current affairs, information, corporate broadcast sector. And it's all out and about on location.
Okay, all right. Okay, guys, do you have any questions before I continue to the relationship between employee and employees? Okay, I think later, yeah. Okay, now I go to the relationship between employer and employees and between the employees. Okay, for rewards, in Americans and Europeans, employees who have creativity and intellectual skills can have the opportunity to progress to the higher position. While in Indonesia, opportunities to climb to the higher position, it depends on the relationship with the employees. Okay, again, it's something to do with the relation. Okay, what do you think, Mr. Clay?
Well, certainly in the UK, and I think some of the information I understand about European work practices as well, is that quite a lot of companies will train their employees. They will train those employees who they think it's worth training to gain new skills, new qualifications, so that they can progress up the work ladder. Employees have a creative and intellectual skills. Well, I'm going to remove creative and intellectual skills. Employees who have a desire to improve their skill set in any particular way. So, you know, whatever that skill set might be, improving their understanding of the latest technology in terms of computer programs, in terms of the equipment that their company uses or potentially might use. So companies here in the UK will provide training to help people progress up the training, up the corporate ladder, up the employment ladder. And obviously, once you progress up that ladder, your salary will increase, because quite often the responsibility that you have is greater. You may, as a result of climbing, of gaining new skills, you might be put in charge of several people. You might be put in charge of a department. You may very well be put in charge of your own budget to supply services to other parts of the company. So certainly I can see that the opportunity to progress are based around your skill set.
Okay, answer. Okay, now work time. Americans and Europeans are workaholics. They have little time to play for leisure time. Okay, they have little time for leisure. Okay, but Indonesians, some of us are hardworking. Some of us have more leisure time, and but some of us who have more leisure time usually have more money to earn. I don't know why, but it's common here. And also work time in Europe and United States, they have 5 days of work hours and 8 hours each day. While Indonesia, sometimes we have 6 days of work hours and maximum 8 hours each day also. But the 6th day, the 6th day is for, what is it? I don't know what to call, additional working hours or something like that. In Indonesia, Monday to Friday is normal working days, and sometimes some of them have additional working hours in Saturday, but not up to 8 hours, maybe just 4 or 5 hours. Okay.
Overtime, I think, is what we would call it in the UK. Overtime.
Okay.
In the UK, we have a 40-hour working week. Some European countries have like a 36-hour working week. 2 seconds. I'll be back in a second.
All right. Wait.
Please slowly, Mister. Please, tolong.
Sorry, I'm back. I'm just going to move. Yeah,
Okay.
we have legal limits as to how much work can be done, or requirements. Like I say, some of Europe they do less hours than the UK. There are workaholics, yes.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who will put in a lot of time for their work. I think most people, going back to something I was saying earlier about this work-life balance, most people are starting to realize that little work, the more you work, the less time you have to just enjoy life. And as a result, again, I'm going to come back to this. I think as a result of COVID, a lot of people have really have looked at their lives and have gone, do you know what? Work's great. I love work. It pays for me to have the life that I have, but there are other things outside of work. And I think, it's vital that people realize that there is more outside of work than, it's not just about earning lots and lots of money. I mean, obviously, if you want to have Gucci watches and Armani suits and a Ferrari outside, you're going to have to work for that or win the lottery. And since winning the lottery is, well, it's a long shot, you're going to have to work for that, either for a company or creating your own company, being an entrepreneur and building your own company. I think for most people, work is about providing for themselves a roof over their heads, food on the table, paying the bills, having holidays, enjoying the time that they have outside of work with their family and friends. From what I understand, again, not having an American here, we have guaranteed holidays. So we have about 30 odd days a year holiday. The Americans have a much smaller holiday entitlement. I think the Americans work a lot more than Europeans and certainly than British people. Do they benefit from that? I don't know. You'd have to ask an American. I think we have a fairly good kind of level where how many hours you work and your free time are fairly evenly balanced out. If you have a reasonably decent job, the money you earn is more than enough to keep you in a comfortable kind of lifestyle, without too many pressures. Obviously, there are people in the UK and in Europe who are on the poverty line, who are at the bottom of the ladder, and there are people at the top of the ladder, and there are a lot of people in the middle of the ladder who have a good job, who have job security. Job security is something which I can't see on here, but job security, I think, for a lot of people is also an important part of their life. If you have job security, you can get a mortgage, you can buy your own house. You know that if you buy a new car on credit, you will be earning the money to pay for that. So I think that's something which I would drop into one of the segments if it's not already mentioned here within the your sheet. Obviously, I can't see that, but yeah, we have workaholics. And we have people who are work shy. So workaholics and work shy.
Workaholic and work shy. Okay. So just like Americans say that time is money. So Londoners also say, okay. So the more time you spend for working, the more money you got. Okay. And also I around 10 years ago when I was still in the university, I met someone from London also. We met in traveling when we were in vacation, and he said that he worked for a year, for the whole year, to spend more money, and then he spent his money to go on vacation in Indonesia for some months. Yeah, not only Indonesia, in Asia, around Asia, from Thailand and Indonesia, Malaysia, and the other countries in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't know, is it common also in London that they work the whole year and then they spend vacation for several months to go on vacations? Okay.
I think, I mean, when I was a lot younger, and I think it still applies today to some extent, is that youngsters after school or after university will save as much money as possible. to go traveling. That's slightly changed in the UK because students now have to pay for their education. So they don't have a lot of money available to travel. So I think potentially, and I think what's one of the things which happens now is that before university, students will get jobs, casual jobs. They will earn money to give them enough money to go traveling before university, to get that experience of travel, to probably grow up a little bit as a result of traveling. But travel is definitely one of the things that I think a lot of Europeans and Americans, probably more Europeans, have a desire, youngsters have a desire to travel, to explore, to experience the world before being tied down to marriage, a full-time job. I'm going to use the word commitment generally. So yes, youngsters like to travel. And then as you get older, as you retire, whilst you still can, the desire then again is to travel whilst you can before your body gives up on the ability to kind of before you literally become too old to travel and it becomes difficult to travel. So I think after school, before university, you have the freedom, you have youth, you have madness, just this desire to explore the world. And as you come into retirement, you have those years when you're still able to travel and see the world. So I think there are two periods of time when we kind of go wild within Europe. And then obviously for a lot of people, they have 2 weeks holiday in summer when they go on holiday with their children, with their family. And then they have other holidays around Christmas and breaks when they will potentially travel as well. Especially when you come from a country like the UK, which is cold or is less warm than, say, Spain and Italy. So a lot of people within the UK, Ireland, will travel to warmer climes, to warmer countries during the summer, just to gain that experience of what it's like to live in a nice, warm environment. America is a huge country, so the Americans probably travel more inside of their own country than they do outside. I think there was some statistic which said 90% of Americans don't have a passport, whereas 90% of Europeans have a passport. So a huge difference between the two areas.
All right, another interesting information. Okay, now for the leisure time. Okay, for Americans and Europeans, they prefer to go home and rest than spending their leisure time by socializing to others. Okay, but for us Indonesian, if we have more time, more leisure time, we spend our leisure time with friends or colleagues in a cafe or street vendor, or maybe in another places, as we socializing with others, because we think that socializing with others is as important as our work also. About this, what do you think, Mr. Clay?
Could you just lift the page up? I can't see the full question. I mean, obviously, to some extent, I've answered or gone over some of these things. I'm absolutely spending time with family and friends is very important. Certainly in some other European countries, it's more important still. Family, friends, extended families are still very, very common. I think here in the UK, it's less so. But certainly, I would say in terms of leisure time, spending time with family, friends, going out, socializing, going to restaurants and cafes, bars here in the UK is a big part of what we do. More so during the summer months when we can live outdoors more. In other European countries where it's warmer, or in the States where it's warmer, being outdoors, being able to meet neighbors, family and friends is even more important. I mean, having just been in Italy, it seems that there is a big outdoor culture. There is definitely a culture of restaurants and cafes, much more than the UK, because their climate allows that. But I think for most people, meeting family and friends, socializing is an important part of relaxing after working all week or working for a huge period of time. I don't think there's a difference. I don't think there's a difference. I think how we do it might change slightly. When we do it might change slightly. But absolutely, I love meeting up with family and friends. I love going out. So I don't think there's a difference. I just think how we do it might differ slightly. And that difference may very well be because climate permits us or doesn't permit us to live or to do things. For example, to meet family and friends, to open your front door to be like -5 degrees, raining or snowing, all of a sudden that incentive, that desire to meet friends and family disappears. If you open the door and it's a pleasant 25 degrees, 30 degrees, and it's sunny, yeah, it's a lot nicer than a freezing cold winter morning. So the times we do it might differ, but I think we all do the same thing, just in a slightly different way.
All right. I think that's all about work values and relationship that I know about work values in United States and also in some European countries. And now we move to question and answer session from the students. But before that, I wanna ask Mr. Clay, have you ever been to Indonesia or any other Southeast Asian countries?
Right. I haven't been to Indonesia. I've been to Japan several times. My wife is Japanese, so I've been to Japan. If we come slightly further east, I've been to places like India and Pakistan. I've been to some of the ex-Soviet Union countries, which are sort of bordering Asia, on that side of Asia, depending on how we're classifying Asia as a continent. So I've traveled the world. I've not been to Indonesia. I've not been to Malaysia. I've been to Thailand.
Yeah, Thailand is also our neighbor country.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the other countries I've been to around there. I think it would be Japan. It would be Thailand.
Philippines, maybe, or Vietnam.
Haven't been to the Philippines. I think probably they would be the only two countries within your region, I would say I've been to, but yeah, slightly further west. I've sort of sat on that side of Asia in terms of India, Pakistan, in terms of some of those other countries which border that part of the world and sit potentially within the Asian subcontinent.
Okay, but have you ever met Indonesian people before? Directly or online like this?
Yeah. London has quite a large population of Indonesians, Malaysians, Thai, people from that part of the world. So not difficult and certainly not difficult to meet people from that part of the world here. In London, you can eat from every corner of the world. You can meet people from every corner of the world.
Just like melting pot, yeah.
A massive melting pot.
Melting pot. Okay, so you know that Indonesians usually are always so excited when we met foreigners from European countries like you, and we like to ask so many questions. Sometimes just like maybe so I think some questions here from the students. Okay, maybe I should call Husnul.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay, hello Husnul. Wait, I will stop my camera so we can see all of Okay. Husnul, do you have a question, Husnul?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is your question, Husnul?
Okay, hello, Mr. My question is, what is the most common work in UK?
The common
Most
word.
common work,
The
the
common
most common
word.
job.
Yeah, the
Um,
most common job.
I would have to say probably within, well, I'm going to call it office jobs, so jobs which involve working in offices. They're probably the most common. Obviously, we have service industries, so we have shopping, restaurants, cafes. Then you have the sort of the banking sector, and then you have industry. But I would say a lot of people I know work in an office doing some kind of job. Now that could be administrative, that could be business, banking, etc., etc. It's very difficult. I think there are so many different jobs, but there are lots. I mean, the City of London, offices. So people who work in offices, people who travel to an office and work within an office, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I would say office work in one shape, form, or another is probably one of the most common kinds of jobs you could have in the UK.
Okay, Husnul, do you still have another question, Husnul?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we go to Intan.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Intan. Okay, Intan. do
Hello,
you have,
Mr. I want to ask,
uh,
what are the best work values a candidate must have in order to work for a UK company?
Sorry, could you repeat that again, please?
Slowly, Intan, slowly.
Okay. What are the best work values a candidate must have in order to work for a UK company?
Okay, to work in a company, in some companies in UK, what are the best work
The
values?
best,
for,
yes.
if we want to work in a company in United Kingdom or in London, what
Yeah.
are the best work values? What should we have?
I think I kind of understand. It's very difficult. Some of the lines not brilliant. Are you asking what are the best qualifications to have?
Yeah, best requirement or best values.
Oh, right. So, obviously, a degree is highly sought after. Good qualifications generally. So, in the UK, I think that would be like A levels, S levels. A high level of education. Quite often, it's important to have a second language. It's also, it's a good thing to have, is to have a second language, because so many companies these days are international. I suppose being a native in the UK is helpful because so many other countries require or find it advantageous for their employees to speak English. So my client last week and my client next week, the same client, it's a requirement for all of their staff to speak English anywhere in the world. But it's also important, I think, in the UK, if you speak another language, it gives you the advantage of being able to communicate with others. But certainly education would be the three things I would say are super important. So, degree, high levels of qualification from school. If you're going straight into a job, education.
Okay. So you have you are also required to be able to speak in another language also.
Not required, but
But-
it's for some companies, international companies, it's advantageous to be able to speak another language. So, like I say, it's not obligatory, but it is an advantage. And obviously, there are some languages which like Russian's a great language to have. Chinese, one of the Chinese languages, something like Japanese, are great languages to have. So, you know, but a good high level of education is just super important. Super important. Although, I mean, that will invariably give you greater opportunities within the work field. Obviously, the poorer your education, the less skilled job you're going to get.
Okay, so we have more opportunity. I think we have more opportunity if we can speak in another foreign language.
Yeah. I mean, certainly for you guys, having English as a second language or English as a first language.
Foreign language.
Is a second. Well, I mean, because I know some of the countries, English and your own language sort of sit on a parallel basis. I know some countries where the civil service works in English, but doesn't work in its local language. But having English as a second language is just such a boon for so many people. If you want to speak to a Russian client, you'll probably do that in English. If you want to speak to a German company, you'll probably do that in English. If you want to speak, obviously, to Australia, you're going to do that in English. English is just one of those languages which, for a lot of people, is a great advantage in your potential career, your job prospects. And for people here in the UK, having a second language is advantageous. It's not necessarily a necessity, but it does give you a little advantage if your company is, say, trading exclusively or a lot with a country where English isn't that well known. So, but having a second language, I think, is just a great thing anyway.
Yeah, it's a foreign language actually for us.
Yes. I know for some of the
for some other countries in Asia, like India or Pakistan, it is a second language, but for Indonesia, it's a foreign language. So, and the students here are the future teacher of English as a foreign language. Hopefully, they will be able to. They are expected to be a good teachers in English as a foreign language.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Intan, yeah. Okay, Intan, do you still have another questions?
No, ma'am. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Intan.
Oh, no, I was looking forward. I was looking forward to a question. Make one up. Just ask me a random question.
Right. Okay, maybe we go to Rida now. Rida. Okay, we have Rida is here. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you turn on your camera, Rida, so we can see your face?
Okay. Wait, ma'am.
Okay, what is your question, Rida?
How many hours a day does the average work in London?
Okay, Rida, your voice, I think, is so. I can hear your voice clearly. Maybe you can.
I couldn't hear that very clearly. So could you repeat the question, please?
Okay. How many hours a day does the average work in London?
Right, so it's 40 hours a week. So normally 8 hours a day, but obviously in some professions, they may work a lot more, up to 12 hours a day, but then you have to deal with commuting time as well, which makes your day very, very long. I would say possibly 8 to 10 hours a day would be the norm. But as I was explaining earlier, a lot of companies now are trying to compress or using a 4-day week. Therefore, making people work longer days, but then they have a longer weekend. But an 8 to a 10-hour day is not uncommon. But if I was to commute into central London, I'd be spending could be 2 hours a day commuting, which extends your time out of the house quite considerably, which is why, going back to something I mentioned before, some people have breakfast when they get to work. People will work through lunch to give them to give them more time to do their work, fulfill their work tasks. But yeah, an 8-hour day is considered to be the norm here in the UK, in many parts of in many professions, not all. Obviously, some jobs, the days are longer because they just need to be. I mean, my day starts when it starts, finishes when it finishes. I don't have a 9 to 5 day. It just doesn't work like that in some professions. In office jobs, it tends to be a little more fixed.
Are there any companies who who apply shift hours? I mean, 3 shift hours a day. For example, from 6 to
There will be. But I mean, again, some companies have something called flexi time. So, for example, a working mother may work on flexi time. So that allows her to, say, take the child to school, then go in late, and maybe come back if they work local, then go back. So they're off something called flexi time, which allows the worker to utilize, say, some time in the office and then some time at home. Again, COVID has shown that working from home can be as productive as working in an office. And for some workers, that ability to be flexible in their working time is useful. We also have things called job share. So, for example, 2 people, maybe let's say 2 working mums, one with a child who is, say, 6, 7 or 8, and then a mum who has a child of, say, 13, 14, 15. So the differences in how those mums need to work to maintain, to look after their children is different. So maybe these 2 mums could then share a job because their needs are different. So we in European countries, employers are using different tactics to enable people to work in a more flexible way, in a less rigid way, in a less 9 to 5 way. Obviously, some jobs need to be that way, but employers are mindful that if they've got a good employee or if they're struggling to employ people, that they have to be more flexible in how they approach the work schedule with their employees. So I don't know how that works in many of your countries, but here in the UK and in Europe, employers are more receptive to different working practices. Like I say, my job is when it starts, when it finishes. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but for certain jobs, they're able to use imaginative solutions to get round the desire to retain people or to get the right people or to make sure that they have enough staff to be able to do the tasks that are needed. So they're a little more creative in the use of how they are able to allow their employees to use their time either at the work location and or working from home, getting the tasks that are needed to be done.
Okay, Rida, is it? Okay, I think enough ya, Rida ya. Okay, now we go to Adenta. Adenta.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, Adenta. What is your question, Adenta?
Halo, Mister.
Hi there. Adenta, what's your question?
Adenta, what is your questions? Okay. Adenta, I can hear your voice. Okay, connection issues maybe. Connection trouble. Adenta, are you still there? Adenta?
Sudah, Mem. Kok nggak bisa ya, Mem?
Iya, oke. Nggak kedengeran tadi. Oke, I can hear your voice. So maybe you can repeat your questions. We couldn't hear your voice.
Oke, Mem. How is the level of discipline in working in companies in London?
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
About
could
the
you-
discipline to work. Should we must be very disciplined or?
Again, I don't come from an office background, so I can't comment on that. I mean, in terms of my job, in terms of my profession, you have to be very disciplined. We have difficult schedules. We have quite often a lot of issues on location, which we need to take into account, which we need to resolve. So you have to be very disciplined. When I am working in offices, I can see that there is a great work ethic. People, are constantly working. And I say they sit at their desks, have lunch 10 minutes and continue to work. So there is a great work ethic there. You have to be disciplined to fulfill your tasks in a day, that you are proving to your company that you are worth the money they're paying for you. At the end of the day, if you're not working, most companies will not want to employ somebody who does not make money for them, does not fulfill the tasks which are required in their job. So I think you have to be disciplined. Otherwise, if you're not, you'll be out. The company will look for ways of getting you out, because they don't want people who are not pulling their weight, who are not doing the work that they need to do. Because it's not just you. If you don't do your job, somebody further along the chain cannot do their job. You're a wheel in a cog. If you're not turning, somebody else isn't turning. And if they're not turning, somebody else isn't turning. So if you're not productive, if you're not doing your job, quite often you will be found out quite quickly that because somebody else can't do their job. So I think, yeah, there is a discipline. There is a lot of discipline within office jobs. Like I say, I don't work in an office. I can't give what I would call an accurate description, but looking at the offices I've been into, I think there is a lot of discipline. There must have to be for those officers to fulfill the tasks that they need to do.
So there's no place for lazy people. There is no place for lazy people.
Yeah.
We have to be disciplined. Okay. Adenta, do you still have another questions?
Okay, enough. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Adenta. Now we go to Latifa. Latifa to Ashrafia, are you here? I think I saw Latifa, but
Maybe the signal, ma'am.
oh yeah. Okay. Let's go to the other students. Ula. The connection problem with
Yes,
Latifa.
ma'am.
Okay, Ula, what is your question, Ula?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
I want to ask, for the matter of work, are British people more concerned with the provision of work or activities in job itself?
I didn't quite understand the question. Could you repeat that, please?
For the matter of work, are British people more concerned with the provision of work or activities in a job itself?
Maybe are the British people more concerned with the kind of professions, or?
Yeah, no, I got the question the second time round. I mean, it goes back to something which was talked about before from your sheet, social status, the status of what a job can give you. I think for many, it's about earning a living. It's about just surviving. It's about earning a living. But for a lot of people as well, it's also about the enjoyment of the job. It's about the people you work with. A job can give you status, but also, you know, not all jobs with status are great jobs. They're not the kind of things which are fulfilling or rewarding to some people, not to all. It's impossible to generalize. It's impossible to generalize. I think my job gives me status. It certainly gives me a visual presence. It gives me an income. It gives me a great livelihood. It gives me a lot of other things. I would say for me, job satisfaction is greater than status. So the satisfaction I get up, when I get up in the morning, I love to go to work. And I know people, they get up in the morning and they just look at the fact that they've got to go to work, and it fills them with dread and fear. And that's even though they have a job with a high status. I have a friend who's in the legal profession, and he lives for the time that he has away from work, doing the things that he loves to do. He sees work as a way of earning money, but he has status because he's in the legal profession. People think, you know, he must enjoy his job. He doesn't. He doesn't enjoy his job at all. It gives him a lot more money than a lot of people, but it doesn't give him the enjoyment that many people who are not as well paid receive from their jobs. I think this question is very, very difficult. I think a lot of the questions are very difficult. You cannot generalize. It's difficult to generalize some of these answers. You know, some people like a job which gives them no responsibility. Some people like a job which just pays the bills, no more. They walk in, they walk away, they have no responsibility. Some people enjoy responsibility. Some people enjoy managing tasks, people. Some people really enjoy the fulfilling tasks which need to be done, problem solving. Some people find that really, really enjoyable. Some people live for that. Some people enjoy just earning a living, walking away on a Friday night at 5 o'clock and not thinking about their job until they walk through the door on a Monday morning at 9 o'clock. You know, they leave the job behind. It gives them no stress. I think these questions are great, but a lot of these answers, you can't generalize. I mean, yeah. Do you like being a student? Do you enjoy what you do? Do you like your Uncle Bill? Do you like, I mean, you can generalize, you can't be, you know, I'm having to generalize. I can be specific about me. I can't be specific about other people. So I'm very much having to generalize.
All right. Okay, Ula. Is it enough or do you still have another questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ula. And now we go to Nanda. Nanda, are you? Nanda, are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is your question, Nanda?
Okay, wait. Hello, Mister.
Hello.
I want to ask how to get a job in UK without experience and what jobs are easy to get.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, and it's a problem a lot of young people have. So they come out of education with no experience. education has given them a series of qualifications, but has given them no work skills. In some respects, has given them no social skills to deal with co-workers. So that's a problem young people have. Without skills, without training, without prior experience, it's very difficult to get a job. You might have the best qualifications, but those qualifications are only part of the education that you need to fulfill and to work within a work environment. Social skills which aren't taught at schools are something which are as equally as important. So in terms of you getting a job in the UK or somebody from the outside getting a job in the UK, there are jobs which are obviously sought after, professions which are sought after here in the UK. So anybody with a good medical background, so doctor, surgeon, nurse, with a qualification which is transferable to the UK, sought after. Those people who are prepared to work in the lowest paid jobs, so the service industries, restaurants, hotels, cleaning, again, they're jobs which are very low paid, and these services are always looking for people to work in this profession because they're normally long hours, poorly paid, not the best jobs in terms of going up a ladder, a work ladder, a professional ladder. So, the top end is easy to get a job. The bottom end is easy to get a job. A lot of other professions can be difficult to get into because the skill set, there are plenty of people in the UK who can fulfill those jobs, who have the skills in those jobs. And for, say, somebody from the Far East, the one thing you may lack, or you have, although you have it, is English. The one thing you don't have is skills which are taught within the British education system or a European education system. So I would say the top end and the bottom end are easy or easier. The middle bit is probably more problematic. If you're young, gaining the skills initially to get onto the work ladder can be very, very difficult. And there are a lot of younger people who will work within a company unpaid just to gain some skill sets which they do not receive from the educational system.
Yeah.
So I hope that gives you a broader understanding. Again, I'm coming from a very generic, general explanation to these things. Obviously, certain areas will have specific requirements which they absolutely need, absolutely require. But yeah, very generally, yeah, young people have a problem getting onto the work ladder.
Okay, now something come into my mind. Okay, how about educated young people? I mean, young people who just graduated from University of Cambridge or Oxford, but they are unexperienced. Do they still have the same opportunity with the experienced young people?
Well, I think there's a buying power with Oxford and Cambridge. The universities themselves, because of the kudos of going to Oxford or Cambridge, a lot of employers will be looking for graduates from these universities or from universities which have a status which is similar to Oxford or Cambridge. But again, those people will be able to get into a profession much easier, but still their skill set, they're going to have to be trained when they get there. They won't know everything. They won't know the work processes. So certainly Oxford, Cambridge, and some of the, St Andrews, some of the great universities of Britain and or America and Europe, they getting a job will be easier as a result of the name of your university, especially if you get a first with honours. You're going to be cherry picked by some of the major banks, tech companies. They'll be looking for people with these qualifications from these universities. So certainly a great question. Yes, they're going to be cherry picked, but they're still going to have to go probably through some form of training when they get into this employment, because they're not going to know how it works. They're not going to know the ins and outs of the systems. So you won't just walk into the top job. You're going to have to, again, sort of start, maybe not at the bottom, but you're going to have to start with some kind of training to show you how this company works. So you'll be going through training processes at the same time, even though you've come out of these companies. You won't be walking in as an MD. You'll be walking in further down the ladder, but these companies will be expecting you to very quickly rise up that ladder to senior management level, because you've come from Oxford, Cambridge, you've come from Harvard, you've come from Yale, you've come from the top university within your country. You'll still be going through training as well. But yeah, it will give you an advantage. It will give you an advantage.
Okay. Actually, I want to ask more about education and about education in UK, but I will give the students the opportunity to ask the question related to the topic first, and then we can go on to the education later. And now we have Wafa. Wafia.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. What is your question, Wafa?
Okay. Hello, Mister.
Hey there.
Yes, ma'am. Wait.
Yeah. Okay.
My question is, can a foreigner work at Kensington Palace?
Can a foreigner work in Kensington Palace or Buckingham Palace or any other palace?
Well,
Yeah.
I can't see why not. I mean, obviously there are strict security processes to go through, but I can't see why not. I mean, I think there will be job opportunities within the palaces. Not a job I would want. You're welcome to it. But I mean, certainly within places like London, there are lots of job opportunities if you have the right skill set. So there are, London's one of those cities where there are job opportunities. New York, I suspect the same. Los Angeles, many of the major cities struggle to, in Europe as well, struggle to get enough people to work in certain professions. So they're having to recruit outside of their own country, outside of their own area, and looking further afield. So, I mean, in terms of wanting to work at Buckingham Palace or Kensington Palace, I'm pretty much sure there will be people from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, other countries in that area, India, Africa, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Norway, who are working there or working within the palaces. I can't see that. I can't see it being difficult to get in. I don't know. I don't have experience, but I can't say it. I know I see so many people from around the world working in London. I have to assume there must be people working at the palaces and working in places like that from around the world.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's also something interesting about UK, United Kingdom, about the palaces. We know about Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, but only just here in any news or from television or something. But we don't know. We know nothing more about the places. Okay, maybe.
I think the only requirement will be a security requirement because of the royalty. You'd have to be vetted in terms of getting in. And again, that I mean, having been to the palace a couple of times to film things, the vetting process, the security process was quite rigid, quite stringent. So to get in and work there, you know, that's probably the bigger of the issues. If you were to work for like a 5-star hotel, there are still going to be vetting questions and questions about security, which are going to need to be fulfilled. But the jobs are there. The jobs are there. Like I say, the biggest thing will be the security and the vetting. Not so much that the jobs aren't available. It's the security side of things at the palaces, the royal palaces.
Okay, right. Okay, now next question, Aji. Do you want to ask any questions, Aji?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Aji. What is your questions, Aji?
Hello, Mister. I want to
Hello.
ask, what is your motivation to be this successful?
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I mean, that's what's my motivation. I think my motivation is the love of what I do. That's what motivates me. And what the job gives me, you know, travel, every day being a different day, that motivates me. Yeah, I mean, some people are motivated by money. Some people are motivated by the power that becoming, you know, a head of a department, head of an office, that, you know, that's what motivates them. What motivates me is just the love of what I do. The differences my job, the places my job can take me. You know, I've traveled the world. I've seen everything. I've been to Buckingham Palace. I've been up to Big Ben. I've been to military bases. I've been to Chernobyl. I've been to countries in Africa filming wildlife. Hey, what more motivation do you need than a different job or a different location every day? I think, you know, that's as much motivation as I need. Like I say, other people have different motives.
Okay. Aji, do you still have another question?
I mean, I would like to ask AJ, what would be your motivation? What would motivate you in terms of, you know, what job do you want and why do you want that job? What's the motivation for that job?
Okay, so Aji, what is your dream job, Aji? What do you want to be?
Why?
And why?
Why? Why?
Aduh.
He hasn't decided yet, I think.
I think sometimes you don't know until you get into the job. You don't know until you start to experience what the job is about. You suddenly think, wow, this is great. I love doing this. I love problem solving. I love being creative. I love what my job does in terms of giving me a power, that power being just helping or managing people. You don't know until you get into the job. You can think it's the greatest job in the world, like my friend who's a lawyer. He thought, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a lawyer, until he got into the job and suddenly went, I don't want to be a lawyer. His perception of his job and his reality, two very different things. Two very different things. I don't think, you know, until you get into that job, you have a perception of what the job's about, what it's going to give you. And until you start, you don't quite know. And sometimes, like I say, when you start, you suddenly go, this job isn't for me. I know quite a few people who started at university doing a degree in philosophy, and within weeks suddenly went, this is not what I want to do. And they've changed because they've realized that how they perceived their course or how they perceived their jobs is not actually how it panned out, how it turned out, and they've changed. So you know, your perception and the reality can be two very different things.
Yeah, okay. Aji now is English language education students, maybe so. Maybe he wants to be a teacher, maybe in the future, yeah, Aji, yeah. But I don't know. But I don't know if maybe his parents, perhaps his parents force him to take English language education.
I mean, again, this is potentially a cultural difference. Most people, I think a lot of parents in the UK will want their children to do what their children want to do. They will not be forcing them down the line of, you must become a doctor, you must become a lawyer. It's probably more would say, you have to follow your heart, you have to follow your desires, rather than forcing them down a career path which they don't want to do. So culturally, maybe I would say that the UK might be slightly different to some Asian countries and some other countries where jobs are foisted upon or career choices are foisted upon their children because their parents say, you must become a doctor, you must become a lawyer. The child's going, I don't want to do this, but my parents tell me I have to do that. I don't know. I think maybe the UK and Europe is a little more open in allowing people to select their career path, their job opportunities. And some of us just fall into it, or things just happen along the way and your career path moves as a result of some unexpected meeting somewhere, something which happened. So I don't know. I get the impression that potentially, yeah, career paths are maybe dictated to by the children, by the parents. Would I be right in that way, in thinking that way?
Most elderly, not detect actually, but they give us they give us advice to, okay, maybe it's this kind of profession is good for your future and something like that. And but we are the obedient.
By advice. I mean, what do you mean by advice? What do you mean by clarify advice?
Yeah, but because most of the young people here are still obedient. I think obedient children, so they they do what our parents do. Okay, something like that. I think.
Oh, I feel so sorry for you,
Yeah.
lot. I feel so. If I'd actually, my parents were really great. My parents were, hey, follow your dream. Follow your dream. So I'm not going to complain. Yeah, I was follow your dream, do what you need to do. You have one life, live it. So I'm not going to complain. But I'm just going to sit here and go, I feel sorry for you all. I feel sorry for you all. Do what you want to do.
Okay, let me ask them. Okay, sorry guys, were you forced when you enter our university? Were you forced by your parents, or you enter the university by yourself, by your own what is intentions? Sufa, maybe Sufa will.
Yes.
Yes. What? Yes. Yes.
Because I not get what university that I want. My parents say to me that to enter to the university.
So you were forced. You were forced at that time. Okay, first, okay, because you are not accepted. You were not accepted in the university that you dream. Okay, you dream of. Okay. So it's the alternative. Okay. What do you think, Mr. Clay? Is it?
Well, yeah. You see, I come from the run wild, take the direction that you want to take. So yeah, I feel sorry that you were kind of. I mean, you probably will. You'll walk out of your university. You'll find a job. You'll find a career. You'll find a life. Hopefully, it will suit you and fulfill what you want. We never know. Even if we follow our dreams, things don't always pan out the way we think that they should. I mean, life's about, I've kind of learned life's about just being happy and enjoying yourself. And I fell into a profession which has allowed me to to enjoy my life, enjoy my profession, enjoy where I am now, and hopefully that will be the case for all of you. You'll kind of leave university, you'll leave. I'm just going to call it education, formal education, and get into something which fulfills you as a person.
All right. Okay, I think one or two more questions here for the students before we end the meeting, because it's already 8:30. So we
Yes.
have already 90 minutes ya, we already. Agak kerasa. Apa nggak kerasa gitu di sini?
I can
Okay.
talk for England, by the way. I love talking, but yes, I need to eat. So when this finishes, I will be having lunch. But yeah, a couple more questions from the lovely people here.
Sorry. Okay, maybe Farah Habibah. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Kim.
Hi there.
I'm very interested with your great job because our guest speaker from the first until last week are mostly a teacher. So I'm curious, can you share your work experience as a cameraman? How long have you worked in this field, or maybe just anything?
Wow. So I've been a cameraman for about 35 years. And as I slightly explaining earlier, I mean, there's television, there's corporate, there's film, you know, there are different fields I could work in, or I could have worked in. I've got a great interest in news and current affairs, in factual programming. So I like facts and figures. So the job itself, like anything, I started off at the bottom. I started off with you know, the experience I gained at university was quite limited. It was not good enough for me to gain a job straight away or employment straight away. But over a few years, I gained more experience. I worked more. I stepped up the ladder in terms of experience and the employment I was getting. And it's just, like I said, it's a really difficult job to explain. You're out on location. You're trying to get the best pictures for your director. You're working as a creative team. There is a hierarchy of sorts, and there is no hierarchy because nobody has an exclusive creative concept. Sometimes some of my camera assistants have seen shots, have seen things which I haven't seen. So I'm not precious. So if my cameraman, my camera assistant, or the director, or the sound recorder saw something, you know, we work as a creative team. It's about creativity. It's about achieving what we need to achieve within our work day. And that can throw up problem solving. If I'm doing something like drama reconstruction on very small budgets in very difficult locations, how do I achieve images that the director wants in the edit suite without the resources at hand? How do I achieve these images for him or her? How do we as a creative group of people fulfill their needs in terms of getting the sound and the pictures to the editor? So I love the creativity. I love the problem solving that the job involves. I mean, the creativity is, you know, the visual creativity is the biggest thing. Sometimes I have time to be very creative. I'm allowed to spend time to create a shot. Sometimes I've just literally got to grab something because it's needed, because in news, you're just trying to express an idea. So the creativity is less, the problem solving and the speed is more important. Other jobs, the creativity is more important than speed. Getting a beautiful looking shot is what is needed, rather than being workmanly like in terms of getting the shots to the editor as fast as possible so that the news item can go onto the news on time. So I love the fact that this job allows me to fulfill many different tasks in many different ways. The primary one, try and say that fast, the primary one is the creativity. But there are so many other things about this job which are just amazing. Travel, the experiences, the different locations that I've been able to go to. Yeah, it's just a job where every day is a different day. No 2 days virtually in the same office. So last week I was filming solar panels. Every day we were doing different parts, different locations, and every location was different. Next week, I'm doing a job where I'm doing a similar product, but every location will be different and in a different country. So lunch, the food will be different. The hotel will be different. Every day is a different day. It's not the same people. So, I mean, it's difficult to say. It's just, it's not a job which has regularity, uniformity about it. It's a job which is mad. And I encourage everybody to get into it because it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a 9-to-5 job. So for that reason alone, I thoroughly enjoy what I've done through the last 35 years. My life as a cameraman is coming to an end. I'm getting old. I'm getting tired. Long days are more difficult to do. But hey, I wouldn't have changed my profession for all the tea in China. Not at all.
Oh, interesting job. But are you going to retire soon, Mr. Chris?
I'm freelance, so I won't be fired. I will basically just bow out of the job and just decide that my shoulder hurts too much, my back hurts too much. Old age has crept up on me. Cameras don't get any smaller.
Okay. So Eka, do you still have another question?
It's very interesting and can motivate us to more get experience and can work in many
I got slightly some of that. I think it's also it's a profession where men, certainly in the UK and Europe, it's a profession where both men and women work across all fields. So there's female editors, female directors. Cameras are a little more difficult. Cameras are heavy generally, although equipment is getting smaller. So it's a profession which is in Europe and in the States is very much, there's a lot of equality. Not as much as there should be, but there's a lot of equality where men and women are quite equal within these professions. I've worked with some brilliant female directors, some brilliant female sound recordists, producers, editors. So it's a profession where it's about the skills that you have, which are more important than you're not put into a profession, or you don't get into a profession because you're a man or a woman. You get into the profession because you're good at it, because you fulfill the tasks really, really well. So, certainly within Europe and within the States, as I understand as well, it's open to everybody.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, Efka, Farah, Habibah. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much for your sharing.
Okay, one more questions maybe, or we can stop this meeting now. One more questions, or
one more question.
One more question. Okay, Sufa is smiling, or maybe Levi.
Okay.
Or, oh yeah, Ivan Sufairo.
Okay, sir, how's weather in UK today?
Cold and unpleasant. We've had a very nice spell of quite pleasant 20 degrees, which for a lot of you people might seem very, very cold, but in the UK, very pleasant. Today, it's about 13 degrees. It's cold, it's grey, it's miserable. Since we're just coming to the end of a bank holiday weekend because of the celebrations for Her Majesty the Queen being on the throne for 70 years, the last day, it's cold, it's grey, it's miserable, and it was very wet overnight. So that's the weather report from London today, the 5th of June.
It's spring, right? The season in London is in spring. Is it spring?
We're kind of early summer. We're out of spring now. We should
we are
be early summer. So yeah. That's Britain for you. That's the weather. The joy about being in Italy last week and Spain next week, it was 35. It'll be 35. I'm looking forward to 35 degrees for 10 days. Yeah.
Yeah, because the weather here or the season here just, what is it? Just two seasons. Only
hot and
wet
hot.
season and dry, wet and dry. Okay, if it is not wet, it's dry, and when it's not dry,
you see, we can have that season 3 or 4 times in a day here: wet and dry, wet and dry, wet and dry.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Okay. Is it enough, guys? Very interesting to talk to you, Mr. Clay. Hopefully, we can still have another opportunity to talk, but with another topic. Maybe you can talk about education in UK, maybe, because I'm still curious about education, but we.
I would say I would struggle because I've been out of education for so long. But it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to everybody today. Some very good questions across the board from yourself and from the participants. So no, thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been great fun.
What do you think about our English, Mr. Clay? Do we have to improve anything?
Well, hey, look, you can always improve. You can always, the better your English, the better for me. It means I don't have to learn your language. So I'm being very selfish here, right? Super selfish. So the more people who speak English, the easier it is for me. If I was ever come to any of these countries, the ability to just speak in English and for people to understand and reply to answer is just phenomenal. I speak Spanish, so going to Spain next week is like fantastic for me. But yeah, improve your English, because one, it will improve your chances of a better job. Absolutely. I know in so many companies, English is so important. So you've got to keep working at your English, working at your English, working at your English. And I just need to improve my Spanish. My English is as good as it's ever good. I've been practicing for 60 years. It's as good as it's ever going to get. So, but for yourselves, practice, practice, practice.
Okay, listen, guys, practice, practice, practice. And it seems that you don't have any difficulties in understanding our language, our speaking, maybe. So I think our pronunciation is not too bad.
No, but the biggest problem sometimes is not your spoken, it's the connection. The sound can be a little problematic with a few people, but so far everybody who has spoken, I've generally understood. The issue has generally been poor quality connection issues rather than language issues. But for all of you, yeah, just keep practicing. Just keep practicing.
One last question. Which one is more important, pronunciation or grammar? Pronunciation or grammar?
I think pronunciation. I think clear pronunciation will get across some grammatical issues. The reality is that I listen to people who grammatically get things wrong, but because they can pronounce the words clearly, as a native, I can fill the holes in. I can pull the sentences together and make sense of grammar which may not be perfect. When people speak and they're not pronouncing words, their pronunciation is poor, they're not pronouncing words clearly, that can be more problematic than poor grammar. Others may say different. I mean, I'm on language forums, so I'm dealing with foreigners a lot of the time. I've worked with a lot of foreigners, and I think pronunciation is more important for me. I, as a native, can fill in the holes. I can piece together things. I can ask a question. I can ask, sorry, what do you mean by that? Am I right in thinking that you mean this? So, but clear pronunciation, like me when I'm speaking in Spanish, my pronunciation is something at times I need to put more effort into getting right. So for me, pronunciation, but hey, pronunciation, good grammar, a good vocabulary, these are all important. Building these skills up is super important. Some things might come easier than others. We all, as language learners, we all have to just work harder at lifting our language skills across the board, and listening to people like me, other natives, is great for you guys, because I'm slowing down slightly, but I'm speaking as a native, so I'm not giving anything to you guys. I'm forcing you all to listen to me as a native, you to listen and to understand instantly, because I know, as somebody who's learning Spanish, that listening to natives, speaking like a native, as a native would generally speak, is absolutely fundamental in terms of your understanding as to how the language works in the real world, and not in the world of a classroom with a teacher. Real English, real German, real Spanish, French, Malaysian, Thai, the real language as spoken by a real native is tough. So you're listening to me and you're really having to understand every single word that I'm saying, every structure that I'm saying. So this is great exercise for all of you. I know, as I say, as a Spanish learner, next week I put what I've been learning into practice in the country. That's going to be tough. So I admire all of you for learning English. I thank all of you for learning English, because it means it's one less language I have to learn. And I'm struggling with the second language. So thanks to all of you for learning English and speaking English.
Okay. Wait. Unfortunately, our time is running out. So guys, maybe one more, one thing, the key to be able to improve our English is to practice. So let's practice more our pronunciation and so on. And also the other components, English components, English skills, and the others. Okay. Now before we say goodbye to Mr. Clay, let's open your camera, all of your camera, so we can take picture with Mr. Clay. Okay. We have how many students? Around 20, but only 10. Only 10 is are on cam.
Okay. Come on, we want everybody on camera.
Okay, come on. Turn on your camera, guys. Turn on your camera so we can take picture together. How about the other? Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 11. Only 11, 10. Only 10 students. The others maybe. Levi is not here. Is Levi here? No. Okay, Rida, Ula. Okay, Ula is already here. Okay, Alina. Okay, Alina is already. Dita. Dita is not here. Okay, Adenta, Aliza, where are you? Turn on your camera, please. Adenta, okay, Adenta is here. Okay, Aliza. Okay, maybe the other students may can help me to take screenshots. Adenta Rahma. Okay, once more, once more. Okay, smile. Put on your smile on your face.
Big smile, everybody.
Smile. Take your face and then
Big thumbs up, big V's, big smiles, everybody.
smile. Smile, smile, smile. Okay, still only we have the 43 participants.
Okay, brilliant.
What are they? Only well, maybe they are shy. So nanti the participant. Okay, there are so many people, but they don't want to show their face. Okay, once again, once again, once again.
Some very shy people.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you, Mr. Clay, for accepting my invitation for talking with us here, for spending your time to talk with us, to give us some information about work value, work ethics in United Kingdom in UK. Okay, we are very grateful to have you here this evening to talk to you this evening, because yeah, it is the first time. Yeah, it is the first time we have the guest speaker from UK.
Yes.
And most of our guest speakers are English teachers, and you are the first cameraman we have, right?
There's not that many of us around, but yes, it's been an absolute pleasure to actually spend some time and chat with everybody. So yeah, no, I'll do this again. Some particular point, we'll have to organize another chat. It's been great fun.
Yeah. Maybe with another topic about the other topic about about culture and the others. Yeah. Okay. Thank you once again, Mr. Clay. You can leave the room now and you can take your lunch. I'm sorry for delaying.
That's fine. No, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care,
guys.
Bye.
Bye. See you next time, Mr. Clay.
Thank you, Mr. Goodbye.
Thank you.